So, guys, we got a very sad story and very typical story about something that happened in Chicago over the last few days. And this really was the culmination of a lot of incidents that have been kind of building up to it. And it shows that a lot of things that go on in the streets in Chicago, man, are really not gang related. And it's this random type of violence. And this was like a neighborhood feud between two neighbors. And the person who ended up being killed, as is the case so many times in Chicago, was not the person that the shooter was aiming at. So the Chicago Sun-Times, shout out to them, is reporting that weeks after a dust-up with his neighbor, a 45-year-old man allegedly opened fire on a woman near their Chatham apartment building, but he ended up killing her daughter instead. So he didn't hit her, he hit her daughter, and he didn't even hit his target one time. And he hit the daughter multiple times, killing her. So this is so typical of what goes on here, man. And, a lot of times, the older guys, they like to rag on the shorties for having bad aim. The older guys, they're not aiming either, man. They're not, and it's not just when they're high either. Like, a lot of these guys, I'm not saying this to like diss their aim. I'm saying like guys are just making irresponsible decisions, shooting when they're not even supposed to be in that position in the first place. Like they could have de-escalated the whole thing from the start, but then they shoot from a distance, don't hit their targets, hit somebody else. Bail was denied on Saturday for a guy named Eugene Arnold, who is now charged with the murder of a woman named Rickisha King and the attempted murder of her mother. So prosecutors said during a bail hearing that the feud between Arnold and her mother, started at least a few weeks before it ended in gunfire on Wednesday evening. So the woman actually was not part of the beef. It was between her mother and this older guy. So the two lived in the same apartment complex, and they had, quote, encounters where Arnold made derogatory comments toward her when he saw her, according to the Cook County Assistant State's Attorney Robert Mack. So on October 4th, King's mother walked through a gated doorway and allegedly let the door close on Arnold and a person that he was with, prompting him to make offensive comments. Okay, so whether or not she intentionally did that, I don't know, but that's pretty disrespectful. You let the gate slam in somebody's face. That's a big mistake in Chicago, man. And the woman responded to the comments by throwing a rock at Arnold, who was carrying a box of liquor. This is another big mistake. Okay, you throw a rock at somebody, they might throw something back at you, throw lead back at you. So he then allegedly struck her in the arm with a bottle of liquor and punched her multiple times. So Arnold allegedly retreated into his residence once onlookers intervened. So here's one thing to note about that. Okay, so she took it to the level of physical violence first, right? He was making comments and she responded by throwing a rock at him. Now, that's not something, that is probably going to hurt him or kill him seriously, but still, she's escalating it, okay, from words. Just before 5 p.m., and I'm not, by the way, anybody that's going to say I'm blaming the victim, I'm not blaming this on her. I'm pointing these things out for other people who are potentially going to make the same mistake, okay, because whether or not he's in the wrong or she's in the wrong, she's dead, okay, so it's irrelevant to her at this point, right? It's whether or not the public ends up taking her side in the end of this debate is not going to help her because she's already gone. Now, I'm not talking about the mother. I'm talking about her daughter. She lost her daughter. So just before 5 p.m. on Wednesday, King was walking with her mother in the 800 block of East 82nd when her mother saw Arnold circling the block in a silver van. So that right there, that's not good. And she was on the phone with police. Okay, and she allegedly saw him fire a handgun from inside his van through the passenger window. So King was 25 years old. She was shot in the head and in the leg. She later died at the hospital, and her mother was not even hit one time. After the shooting, Arnold drove south against traffic on Maryland Avenue before turning right on 83rd. And he was arrested hours later in River North in the downtown area. And so his public defender noted that he joined the Marines in 1998 after graduating high school and was honorably discharged after an injury in basic training. This is really tragic, man, because this is all over nothing. Literally over nothing, just over like disrespect. So this is how a lot of these, this is honestly how a lot of these gang wars started. Just over disrespect, like little comments. A guy bumps somebody else and he makes a comment and the other guy, hits him, and then he, goes home and comes back blowing. It's just this little insignificant stuff that just ends up escalating. This is really what it is. I mean, and then that turns into like a revenge cycle. See, now if he was like in a gang and she, had a crew or whatever, and he was in a gang and now they'd be into it. Now her people would have to, come back and get back at his people and take one of theirs, and then they would just go back and forth until like 50 people were dead. And, we're looking back at this 10 years from now, talking about, how the war from, in this neighborhood started. Like, this is, like I know wars that started over, so many wars that started over stuff like this, man. It's just sad, bro. So this can all be stopped from the beginning. You do something disrespectful and somebody starts to trip, you say sorry. This is how guys, what people need to be raised to do. And I don't know, maybe her parents did raise her to do that, but, and his parents, but, this type of thing needs to be squashed before it gets out of hand, man, because once it gets to the level of violence, now it's not even about what happened at first anymore. Now it's about the violence. You come back, swinging or blowing or whatever it might be, now whatever it was about, at the start, now it's not about that. It's about this, the fact that you just blew at us. So let's just keep that in mind, and rest in peace to that daughter who was an innocent victim and was just basically caught in the crossfire, and hit multiple times while her mother was not even hit one time. And I got just a quick update on a shooting that I reported on last week. This is a update from tonight, actually. There's a warrant that's just been issued for a suspect in the shooting that killed the employee at the Greyhound bus station downtown. And it's weird because I don't know if this guy's even from Chicago, but a warrant has been issued, they said, for the suspect. An arrest warrant, they said, is for Rodney Miller, 26, in the shooting on Monday, October 24th, that killed the 30-year-old Greyhound employee named Dewan. So Rodney Miller is about 5'10" inches tall and 20 to 225 pounds with a beard. They did not say what the possible motive was, but the worker had just stepped out of his car at the bus station at 630 West Harrison Street when a gunman came up and shot him multiple times. The gunman had come on a bus from Minneapolis and had waited for the victim to arrive. So this is very interesting, man. Why this would have, occurred from somebody from out of state with this guy that was from here. But anybody with information is asked to call Area 3 detectives. And the names of the detectives are Levitt and Taglieri at 312-744-8261, or to submit an anonymous tip to cpdtip.com. And anonymous tips can also be submitted to the FBI tip line at 312-421-6700. Came here from Minneapolis and did that. I don't know what this was about, but they'll find out what happened with this. Your boy Winnie City Report. I'm out.